Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into some really significant theological territory.
We definitely are. We're looking at binding and loosening. Matthew 16.19 and 18.19. These verses, well, they've historically been huge, absolutely foundational for concepts of church authority, right?
Exactly. The idea that some external group, a church or maybe a leader, holds this divine power to permit or restrict things, not just here, but in heaven too.
And that's caused endless debate, hasn't it? Who really has that kind of authority? Which brings us right to our source for this deep dive, Dr. Roy E. Richmond. Because his take is, well, it's radically different, completely different. He essentially argues that this whole idea of external authority misses the point entirely.
How so?
Dr. Richmond relocates the power. It's not out there with an institution or some far-off deity. He says it's internal. It comes from the individual's own inner realization.
Okay, that's a major shift, not just a subtle reinterpretation.
It's fundamental. It moves the power source from out there to in here, inside each person's consciousness.
So our goal today is to really unpack that. What does he mean by the keys of the kingdom if they aren't, literal keys?
Right. He defines them as awakened awareness.
And we need to explore how, in his view, your own beliefs, what you hold true inside, actually shape the world you experience.
Exactly. And just to be clear, this whole discussion, everything we're exploring, is based entirely on Dr. Richmond's analysis of these texts.
Got it. So let's start with that first big verse, Matthew 16.19. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
That language sounds incredibly authoritative, like real power is being handed over. So if it's not institutional, what are these keys? Well, Dr. Richmond is very clear. They are absolutely not physical objects. No golden keys to unlock pearly gates.
Okay, so
metaphorically.
The keys, he says, represent awakened awareness. It's that moment of spiritual insight, that aha moment when you realize the kingdom of God, which he describes as righteousness, peace, and joy, isn't somewhere else. It's where?
It's within you,
Yeah.
within your own consciousness right now. The keys are that realization. He calls it logos awareness.
Logos awareness, like understanding the divine principle or pattern of things.
Exactly. It's perceiving the underlying truth of reality. So the key isn't a thing you get, it's a state you achieve, an internal perception.
And in this first instance, this awareness, these keys, are revealed to Peter. Why him specifically?
Dr. Richmond points to Peter's name, meaning stone or rock. He sees Peter as symbolizing solid awareness,
Solid awareness.
meaning when your inner understanding becomes firm, unwavering, rooted in truth, that state itself becomes the gateway.
Ah, so Peter represents the quality of awareness needed.
Precisely. When your awareness is solid like a rock, it acts as the very gateway to understanding of eternal righteousness. The keys are the awakened perception. The stable awareness is the door you walk through.
So the authority isn't about Peter the man or his office, but the state of awareness he represents, that stable inner knowing.
Yes. You don't receive the keys from an external source. The keys are the perception that arises when you stand firm in your inner truth. That makes sense internally, but it begs the question, if this was about inner awareness, how did we end up with centuries of interpretation focused on external institutional power? That seems like a huge leap. That's exactly the tension Dr. Richmond tackles. His view is that the original, simpler message, that the power lies in your realization of oneness, got complicated over time.
Complicated how?
It became externalized, institutionalized, often, he suggests, as a way to manage and control populations. The focus shifted from your inner work of realization to external obedience to an organization.
So people effectively lent their inherent internal power to these external structures.
Sure.
That's the implication in his analysis, yes. Okay, so let's move from the keys to the action itself, binding and loosening. If it's all happening inside, what does that actually mean? What are we doing? Yeah, what does it mean to bind something in your consciousness?
According to Dr. Richmond, it means to mentally and spiritually permit or restrict certain thoughts and beliefs within your own awareness.
Permit or restrict. Like choosing what to hold on to.
Exactly. To bind means you hold fast to a thought or belief. You accept it as real, you lock it into your consciousness. It could be a belief about yourself, I am capable, or maybe something negative, I am unworthy.
And loosening.
That's the opposite. It's releasing what hinders you. Letting go of those limiting ideas, those negative beliefs that hold you back. You release them back to, well, their source, which he sees as peace.
Okay, I can see how that's an internal process, holding or releasing beliefs. But the verse still talks about earth and heaven. How does my internal binding on earth, my conscious thought, affect heaven. That connection needs clarifying.
This is where Dr. Richmond's framework gets really uh, mind-bending, I suppose. He introduces this idea of absolute oneness,
Oneness, meaning.
meaning heaven and earth aren't two separate places. They aren't even really two distinct realms in the way we usually think of them.
So what are they?
He calls them two dimensions of one consciousness. Think of it as the invisible dimension, heaven, and the visible dimension, earth.
Like potential and manifestation.
Something like that. He uses the phrase Elohim Ruach breath in our awareness. For the invisible, the formless creative potential, the divine mind aspect. Earth is the realm of formed awareness, where things become visible, tangible.
So how does binding connect them?
The mechanism is instantaneous because they aren't separate. Whatever you bind in your formed awareness, your thoughts and beliefs here on earth, is already bound in that invisible realm of potential, heaven, because they're just two aspects of the same conscious reality responding together.
Wow. Okay. So my thought isn't just a thought. It's like instantly impressing itself onto the underlying reality.
That's the idea. It's not like you think something and then petition heaven to agree. Your conviction is the agreement, reflected simultaneously in both dimensions.
That really does underscore the inherent power he talks about. We're not asking permission.
Not at all. Dr. Richmond says when you awaken to this divine kinship, you realize no external deity gives or withholds anything. You are the visible expression of that invisible creative breath.
So I determine what gets bound or loosed through the quality of my awareness.
Through the quality and the conviction, yes. If your awareness aligns with a divine pattern, with truth, peace, love, then your words, your thoughts, your intentions become those creative forces of heaven on earth. The authority is built in. It's immediate.
That puts a huge amount of responsibility on what we choose to think and believe. Our thoughts aren't just passive observers.
They're active agents, creative forces. And this idea is reinforced when the principle appears again slightly later in Matthew, right? Matthew 18:18. It basically repeats the same binding and loosening formula.
Yeah.
It does. But the crucial difference Dr. Richmond highlights is the audience. It's not just Peter this time.
Who is it addressed to?
It's addressed to all the followers of the Logos. Anyone seeking to understand and live by this divine principle.
So it universalizes the power. It's not just for one person.
Exactly. He sees it as confirming the collective authority of awakened awareness. This power, this creative spiritual activity, isn't exclusive. It's available to every single person who operates from that state of oneness awareness.
Okay, so if this power is universal, how does Dr. Richmond explain the nuts and bolts of it? How does my inner thought actually create my outer experience? What's the mechanism, the law of oneness doing? He links it directly to manifestation. He actually offers his own translation of Proverbs 23:7, which says,
As a person thinks and believes in his or her heart awareness, so will be their experience. It's quite direct.
So the law of oneness essentially guarantees that what you firmly believe in your heart awareness,
Becomes your reality. Your strongly held thoughts and convictions are inherently creative. They shape your personal world because they are extensions, direct expressions of the divine idea that you're currently focused on.
So if I really, truly bind myself to the belief that, say, opportunities always pass me by,
Then that unified consciousness, the heaven and earth system, reflects that back to you. That becomes your lived, experienced reality. You literally experience opportunities passing you by.
it's like a mirror reflecting my core beliefs back at me.
A perfectly responsive mirror. What you mentally hold, bind yourself to as truth, manifests. And conversely, what you let go of, what you loose from judgment, from fear, it returns to its natural state of peace. It dissolves from your experience.
This is why he emphasizes that the consecrated messenger, the awakened individual, has to recognize this authority is inherent, built in.
Yes, absolutely. It's not borrowed. It's not granted temporarily. It's part of your fundamental nature when you're aligned. The power to bind and loose is the power to shape your awareness and therefore your reality.
It sounds incredibly powerful, almost dangerously so. If everyone has this creative ability based just on belief, couldn't that lead to manifesting all sorts of negative things or even chaos? Is there any kind of internal governor or ethical framework?
Well, the framework is sort of built into the definition of the kingdom itself: righteousness, peace, and joy. While you can bind yourself to negativity, fear, lack, separation, and manifest those experiences,
Right.
Dr. Richmond would argue those are ultimately illusions, temporary distortions.
Yeah.
They aren't aligned with the fundamental nature of that divine breath, which is peace and wholeness.
Mhm.
So while you can create temporary chaos for yourself, the real lasting creative power comes from aligning with truth.
So binding yourself to fear creates a fearful reality, but it's inherently unstable because it's not aligned with the foundational peace.
That seems to be the implication. The true constructive power of the keys is used when your awareness is solid. Back to Peter the Rock, in the eternal reality of peace, not the shifting sands of fear.
Can you give us some concrete, maybe modern examples? How would someone listening right now apply this binding and loosening in their life?
Sure. Let's take common struggles. Dr. Richmond uses examples like fear, guilt, shame. If you bind yourself to chronic guilt, for instance,
Yeah.
you mentally decree, I am guilty. Hold fast to that belief. That condition then appears in your outer world, maybe as self-sabotage, maybe as attracting situations that seem to punish you. You're living out your inner sentence.
And the solution isn't seeking external pardon.
Not primarily, no. According to this view, the solution is internal loosening. You have to consciously release that binding belief. You stop holding guilt as your truth.
And align with something else.
Exactly. Align your awareness with your inherent innocence, or with compassion, peace, understanding. As you loose yourself from the false belief internally, the external manifestation, the guilt-driven experiences, appears loosed too. It dissolves.
So the freedom comes from within, releasing the self-imposed mental chains.
Precisely. The entire process, the struggle, and the resolution happens within your own consciousness.
Which means the keys really are ours already.
That's the core message. Dr. Richmond insists the keys aren't held by any institution or external figure. They rest in your awakened awareness.
And accessing them is about realizing that inner kingdom.
Yes. Realizing the righteousness, peace, and joy that are already inherent within your being. That realization itself is the power. It unlocks understanding. It shapes experience.
Okay, so let's recap the heart of Dr. Richmond's interpretation. He fundamentally shifts the power of binding and loosening inwards.
Completely internal. It's all about the quality and conviction of your personal awareness.
And this idea that heaven and earth aren't separate, but are one unified consciousness.
Instantly responding to what you believe and hold true.
Making individual thought and belief incredibly powerful, creatively shaping your reality. That's the essence of it. The ancient words were describing an eternal truth about consciousness. What you hold is real, what you bind yourself to becomes real for you. It shifts the focus entirely, doesn't it? From what does God or the church permit
To what reality am I permitting or restricting within my own awareness? It puts the responsibility and the power squarely back on the individual.
which naturally leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. If this inherent power is real, as Dr. Richmond describes it, what's the most important thing to do with it right now? Well, drawing from Dr. Richmond's conclusion, consider this choice he presents. You can consciously choose to loose yourself from the illusions that bind you. Maybe illusions of separation, feelings of unworthiness, pervasive fear. And if you do that, internal loosening.
He suggests all of creation. Your whole experience world will follow that release. It mirrors your freedom. Or you can choose to consciously bind yourself to what is eternally true, to peace, to love, to your inherent connection.
And the result.
The whole earth, your whole reality, will feel the stillness and stability of that inner peace. The ultimate choice, the greatest power you wield moment by moment, is deciding what you permit and what you restrict in the kingdom of your own heart.